I'm Clifford Bates, and welcome once again to reading Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics. Today we're continuing our examination of the Ethics, particularly Book 4, looking at Chapter 7, which is, again, it says about truthfulness, okay? This is what the traditional position says. It's what truthfulness, virtual truthfulness. So let's look at it. This is what it is. Chapter 7. Concerning pretty much the same thing. There is also a mean middle point related to boasting, but it is too nameless. So therefore, the question of boasting, people who boast about what is boast. The question of boasting, this is making claims, making statements, right? Boasting is making, there's a middle point on the question of boasting, right? Yet it is not the worst thing to go through considerations of this kind, since we would know better what pertains to character by going through each of them. And we would trust that the virtues are means by seeing plainly that this is so in the case. So we're going to look at this characteristic. We're going to be looking at a characteristic, and we're going to examine each of these characteristics in terms of finding a characteristic and what is a mean. And that virtue is always going to be a mean, a middle point between excess and a defect, right? And here that he's looking at the question of boasting. And it has no real name per se in that sense, right? So let's go look at this and put this up here, and we'll continue. When it comes to living together, so notice this, we're living together. When it comes to living together, and then those who associate with a view to pleasure and pain have been spoken of. So therefore the question of living in pleasure and pain, right? This is how we live together, and whether it's pleasurable or painful to live together. And I think this is the discussion of friendliness in that sense. Friendliness, right? The question of this, and that's maybe even the gentleness in that sense. These things, right? Both of these things that have no real name, in that sense, right? Now, let us speak similarly about those who tell the truth, as well as those who state or claim falsehoods related to speeches and actions. So they say the truth. It's telling the truth and saying falsehoods related to speeches and actions. That is, in relation to what is they pretend to do. Therefore, in other words, when they speak about their actions and what they're pretending to do, or in other words, the question of, we're talking about their what they say, things that they say, and things that they say, what they do, and they say what they do, right? The truthfulness and falsehoods regarding them, right? And the word here is the question lightly, or those who tell lies. So every time you see the term falsehoods, it's the literal translation is those who tells lies. So those who tell the truth and those who tell lies regarding speeches and actions. Okay. The boaster then seems apt to pretend to qualities held in high repute, both qualities he does not actually possess, and those that are greater than the ones he does possess. So therefore, that's the boaster. The boaster is one who exaggerates, makes claims to virtues or characteristics he does not possess, or greater, or argue that he possesses them to a greater degree than he actually does, right? That's the boaster. Right? The ironist, whereas the ironist conversely seems to deny the qualities he actually possesses, or to make them less. So the boaster exaggerates or makes claims he has something that he doesn't have, or he exaggerates what he has. The ironist either denies he has it, or an irony. What is irony? The ironist is someone who is kind of saying what? Saying the opposite of what is, right? This is the ironist is someone who is kind of maybe making the opposite. In other words, this is the question: is he lying? Is he lying? Is this a kind of lying? Is the boaster? The boaster's a lying. It's a non-truth telling. So is irony, given that it's this, he is what? He is denying qualities he actually possesses, or to make them less. And the person in the middle between them is a kind of plain dealer. 33. Here they use the word autokratos, orthokrastos, which refers to someone who calls the thing by their right names, who calls a spade, right? Calls a spade a spade. Here the term is auto. The word here is therefore truth. Plain dealer is the autokratos, and this is what? This is someone who someone calls things by their right names. Someone who calls things by their right names. This is the middle plain dealer. This right calls things the autokratos. Um, uh, yeah, orthokrastos, orthokrastos. This is the someone who calls things by their right name, their correct name. Since he is given to truthfulness, both in his life, so therefore regarding both in truth, he's regarding the truthfulness of his life and his speeches, knowing that the qualities he possesses are his own, and neither exaggerating or diminishing them. So therefore, this is interesting. Therefore, the boaster is excessive. He claims things he doesn't have or exaggerates the things he does. The ironist denies the things that the truth about denies what he possesses or understates them, whereas the plain dealer tells you the truth about the things, right? The truth teller, right? In that sense, right? He's telling the truth. He's telling the things as they are, right? And therefore, he's not. Both his life and his speeches, acknowledging the qualities he possesses, are his own, and neither exaggerating or diminishing them, right? That's this idea of the plain dealer, the truth teller, right? The plain dealer, the autarkos, the autokratos, right? Orth, or orthikrasos. It is possible to act in each of these ways, either for the sake of some goal or for none. So therefore, you can either, in other words, you can. There's two ways. You can either boast or be ironic for reasons or for no reason. In other words, you can do it for sake of some goal or for just doing it. Right. The sort of things each person says and does, and thus how he lives, are determined by the sort of person he is. If he is not acting for the sake of some goal, so therefore the question is, if he's doing it for some reason, that's a different thing. But if he's doing this because that's how he is, that's a characteristic. That's his. Therefore, if it's not, he's doing it for no reason, no goal, no purpose. There's no intentional purpose for this. That therefore, someone can not be a character, but engage in irony or boasting for a reason, but not necessarily have a nature of one who is ironic or boasting, right? So therefore, the difference between the doing of something for a purpose and the possessing the character of such a person, right? So how he lives are determined of what sort of person he is. If he is not acting for the sake of some goal, right? For the distinction between you're doing something for a reason or a purpose or a goal versus how you are, right? Um, in itself, what is false is base and blameworthy. So, in itself, the question of if you're presenting in itself of the thing in itself, you know, the false is base, ignoble, and blameworthy, whereas what is true is noble, kalos, and beautiful, and praiseworthy, right? The kalos, so therefore base is vile and ignoble and blameworthy, whereas the true is noble, beautiful, kalos, and praiseworthy. In this way, too, he who is given to truthfulness, being characterized by the middle term, is praiseworthy. But both of those given to falsehood, both the ironist and the boaster, these are falsehoods, are blameworthy, though more so to the boaster. So they're both of the boaster is worse than the ironist. Let us speak about each. The first about the truthful person. So we're going to talk about the truthful person, the one who tells the plain dealer, who tells the truth about the thing, the truth teller. In fact, this is the thing. People say, "Oh, but you shouldn't tell the truth all the time." This is the problem. We have this problem in. You look terrible. Telling someone the truth may be kind of impolite. In other words, it's always being a truth teller can get you in trouble. Why? Because some people don't always want to hear the truth. Okay, so therefore, my mother used to always tell my father that he was always getting in trouble because he always, he was kind of, he thought lying was bad, and he was kind of Christian fundamentalist in that sense. And he would say to someone, "Oh, you look horrible today." "Well, you don't say that to me." "Oh, you look like death warmed over." And I think I have that character. But oh no, that's not true. I can do both the other things as well. I had my uncle. One of my uncles was a boaster. My mother always called me like him. I can have my attitude about this is always situational. When sometimes I can, but then I had always problem with someone at work. Someone I worked with when I was in graduate school and I was working in the bookstore. The manager of the bookstore said to me, "Clifford, you don't suffer fools well." And I joke, that's the problem. This is kind of a person who doesn't suffer fools well. That's a problem with the truth teller in that sense. But let's stop here and go back to the thing, right? Now we're speaking not about truthfulness in the case of agreements or anything that extends into the realm of injustice or justice. For this would belong to another virtue. So it's not about the truthfulness regarding the agreements and keeping agreements, right? This is a different virtue, he's saying. Rather, in the situation in which nothing of that sort is involved. So it's not about justice and injustice, right? This is not about the truthfulness here is about other things other than the question of agreements or anything that extends into the realm of injustice or justice. Rather, the situation in which nothing of that sort is involved. The person we are speaking of is truthful both in speech and in life because such is his characteristic. So therefore, this is his character. He's just truthful. He's going to tell you the truth no matter what. He's not going to say anything but what it is. This is again the plain dealer, right? The plain dealer, the one who the orthokrasos, the one who calls things by their right names, call things the way they are, right? A person of this sort would seem to be decent because he's a lover of truth. Now, notice this, this is why this is interesting. The scene would seem to be distant because he's a lover of truth. The problem is sometimes telling the truth is not, people may not, and he may seem decent, but then sometimes he may seem indecent because is the telling the truth harmful, hurtful, painful, like he says, or over truth. And if he is truthful in the situation in which being such makes no difference, in other words, it gives him no benefit. In other words, the truth telling offers no benefit, no difference, nothing benefit or harm, right? Still more so will he be truthful in the situation when it does. So therefore, if he's going to do it when it doesn't matter, there's no benefit, then he will be more so when it does matter, right? This idea, right? For he will guard against what is false on the grounds that it is shameful. So he thinks that saying falsehoods are shameful, especially when he is also used when he is also used to guarding against it in itself. So therefore, he thinks it's not only in other words, in itself, he's not inclined to tell falsehoods in itself, and will think it's for a reason doing it purposefully. Now, there's a problem here that maybe some situations may require. That's another question. Are there equations where it is actually beneficial and necessary? That's the famous thing in Plato's Republic about the beautiful lie, the noble lie, right? The beautiful lie in the Republic, right? This idea. But this person is inclined to think it's shameful, that he thinks it's, and therefore, and such a person is praiseworthy. Now, such a person who thinks it is praiseworthy. He will incline more in the direction of saying, in other words, he will incline more in the direction of saying less than what is true. For this regards more, in other words, he will incline more to the direction of saying less than what is true. For this appears more refined, given the irksomeness of the excess in this regard. So therefore, this is what he does. Okay, he will tell what is true, but, well, wait a minute, if it can be irksome, if the truth may be painful or irksome to others, he will say less, he will kind of move less than what is true. Right? This is why the ironist is worse than the boastful in that sense. The boastful is worse. Okay. He who pretends to qualities greater than he possesses for no particular purpose resembles a base person, for otherwise he would not enjoy lying. And yet he appears more silly than bad. So he's a base person, but in other words, he's doing it for no purpose. He's lying for lying's sake. So in other words, he's more. This person is still base. He's not a virtuous person. He's not noble. He's ignoble. This is not noble. It's ignoble. Base resembles purpose. That's why he says resembles here. That's why resemble is important. He's not. The purpose resembles a base person. For otherwise, he would not enjoy lying. So he likes lying. He's like not telling the truth. Yet he appears more silly than bad. This person does it for no reason, does it? So therefore, if you're lying because you like lying, it's not a good character. And it resembles a bad person, but he's more silly than bad. Okay? But when some goal is at issue, he who pretends to be more than he is for the sake of reputation or honor is not, in other words, if some goal is at issue, he who pretends to be more than he is for the sake of reputation or honor is not overly blameworthy as a boaster. Whereas he who does this for money or goods, or anything that would lead to goods or property, right? Goods and property is more unseemly. In other words, it's neither not overly. In other words, again, not overly blameworthy. It's still blameworthy, but no. If he's doing it for honor, we can understand it. We want honor. We want it. So therefore, yes, it's still blameworthy, but it's not overly blameworthy. Whereas the one who does it for money, this is worse. If you're doing it for gain of material or property and wealth, gain of material goods. In other words, gain of honor is better, is higher than the gain of goods. Therefore, it's more forgivable. The ones who seek honor inappropriately are kind of least seeking the right thing, right? It's better. It's in other words, it's yes, you're lying, but at least the thing you're lying about is more honorable than the lying about the wealth and material things, right? This is in that sense, right? Is more unseemly. It is not. It is not. This is a bracket. Now, this whole next line is a bracket, not well bracket, a parenthesis. So it's a side thing in Greek. It is not in having the capacity to boast, but in making the choice to do so that someone is a boaster. In other words, it is not having the capacity to boast, but making the choice to boast. That is the boaster. In other words, everyone has the capacity, but the boaster is not someone who has the capacity, but the one who boasts, who chooses to boast. But in making the choice to do so, that someone is a boaster. For choice accords to one's characteristics. So in other words, the idea here is the choices you make reflect your character. And he is a boaster because he is that sort of person. So, in other words, you're going to boast. In other words, you will boast because you are inclined to boast. It's not about the inclination. In other words, it's not merely about the potential of it. It's not the question of the capacity of doing it. It's not a capacity. It's a question of character. It is are you of that, or in other words, it's not a capacity, but whether it is someone who does it and it's that character, right? Because he is a boaster, that sort of person. So therefore, it's the characteristic that leads to the behavior, right? The action, the choice. So that your choice you'll choose this because that is you are that therefore you're inclined to choose that behavior. You are of that character. You have that character, right? In the same way, too, someone who is given to falsehood in, either enjoys falsehood in itself or longs for reputation or gain benefit. So you like it for the question is someone who is inclined, someone who's given to falsehood, either must like falsehood itself, enjoys the falsehood in itself, or longs for either reputation or gain, material gain, benefit. And reputation is kind of a benefit also, but it's a benefit of honor, right? Someone who boasts for the sake of reputation then pretends to the sort of qualities that are praised, or are thought to bring happiness. So therefore, this is the point. This is that famous line. Hypocrisy is of being something, claiming to be something you're not, right? This is hypocrite. The person who talks about being good things but doing opposite. Well, this is that famous line by Chateaubriand's line that in French is that hypocrisy is the compliment that vice renders or gives to virtue, right? Renders the virtue. It is in other words, hypocrisy acknowledges the virtue. The vicious or the bad acknowledges that the good is the good. So it's a compliment. It's the acknowledgement of that sense, right? That's Chateaubriand's famous line. It's very Aristotelian in that sense. That is, Aristotle would agree with Chateaubriand on that point. And I think that is important to understand. That therefore, this is why those who seek honor are kind of more forgiven. It's not still bad. It's still not noble, but it's at least he's aiming towards the right thing. Whereas the one who doesn't, as he says here, those who boast for the sake of gain, pretend to qualities that please their neighbors, the false pretense which can go unnoticed. For example, when they pretend to be a prophet, a wise man, or a doctor. Right. This is the alternative reading by Reeve, following Rackman, suggests in pretending to be the doctor or a wise prophet. Right. This reading is supported by some manuscripts, and the figures of the doctor and the prophet or the soothsayer are often comically presented as charlatans, right? The charlatan, right? Being a charlatan, you pretend to be a doctor, but until you discovered that you are not. It's a charlatan, right? The charlatan. In other words, that they do so for gain. They pretend to please their neighbors, and false pretense to go to which can go unnoticed. They pretend to be a prophet, a sophos, a wise man, or a doctor. Now, this is why the tradition drops the doctor or wise prophet, and so pretending to be a doctor or a wise prophet. I think that this the question is the wise one is separate. The sophos, the wise man is only just a doctor or the wise prophet. This is one manuscript. The other manuscript has the three. Okay, so therefore this is a charlatan, right? On this account, most people pretend to and boast for such things, since the criteria just mentioned are present in those areas of expertise. They want to be represented. They brag about. They claim to be something they're not. That's a charlatan. We would call this the charlatan. This is the person who fakes, who possess to be someone that they're not. And this is, and you understand why they're doing it, but because they want to have reputation, they want to gain something. They want either the reputation or they want to get money from you. So therefore, that's again the question: what are they doing it for? They really want to have the reputation. There are actually some people who are charlatans who do good. They just aren't necessarily legally or properly that. Who, there's always stories of someone who does something and that they're not trained to do. They do it. The question is, do they do harm or not? When a charlatan does harm, it's worse than the charlatan. It's still bad. It's not a good thing, but it's someone who does benefit. A charlatan who benefits is much better than a charlatan. The charlatan who brings harm is bad, harmful. So therefore, the question is, does he do so? Is it accidental or intentional? That's the weird thing. That we would assume that the charlatan who brings good is accidental, it's lucky. He's just lucky. Whereas clearly he knows what he's doing. That this is not intentional. Then in other words, we would chastise him for not being or legally, or he is that, but he's not that. Okay, that's the problem. He might not have the possession, the proper, he might have the knowledge, but not necessarily the legitimacy to be. Right. That's the problem of the charlatan. That's the extreme. The one who's lucky, then it's just luck. That's the matter. He's not brought harm. And therefore, it's a question of luck of harm. If in other words, he knows if actually knows what he's doing, then to what degree is he then a charlatan? He's just a charlatan only in terms of nomos, not phusis. Okay, that's the weird aspect of that question. So therefore, this doesn't say in the text, but this is the logic of we should think about this in this time, of what he means here in that sense. The charlatan, and thus in that sense, the difference between the one who knows what he's doing versus the one who does not know what he's doing. And therefore, if he does not know what he's doing, then it's luck. Therefore, it's still problematic, that luck. And therefore, that is more blameworthy than the one who knows what he's doing, right? And the one who brings harm is much more, the one who brings benefit, we can forgive, but the one who brings harm, we should really, both are blameworthy. All of these are blameworthy. But the degree they're blameworthy will vary to the degree of knowing versus not knowing, and benefit versus harm, right? On this account, most people pretend to and boast of such things, since the criteria just mentioned are present. They get what? They boast for gain, or they want to get reputation, right? And they think that some people will do it because they want to make people happy. They think happiness will be brought because of this. They lie about that for the sake of others. You lie. Sometimes you lie for this. You kind of boast something to give someone else pleasure. In other words, you get pleasure by giving other people pleasure. So you therefore, by telling them this falsehood, you think they will get pleasure by it. Okay, that's the other problem about this. This is the boasting. This is why boasting has a very complex problem. Now, all of this is boasting is not is lying, and therefore it is not not noble. But the degree of nobility here, the degree of ignobility will vary. So the more harm, in other words, we said the more harm, the more reason why you're doing it. The why you're doing it will mitigate the what you're doing, but it's still negative. It's not. It never becomes noble. Right? Now let us turn the ironist. Right. The ironist, and remember, the ironist is going to the lover of truth will. This last sentence in the previous paragraph gives us an argument that that even the truthful person, if the truth would be irksome or harmful, problematic in that sense, will be inclined to say less. Right. So the ironist who tends to say less than they are appear more refined in their characters. In other words, and actually this is more important. The ironist will have in the perception of other people, the truth teller will be kind of crude. He will be seen as the plain dealer, will be not refined. The ironist will have a refined. What does refined means? Cultivated. This means good manners. Refinery means having manners, good manners, social habits. The truth teller seems to be unrefined. It's not necessarily vulgar, but and maybe the unrefined will be perceived as vulgar. Will be seen as not vulgar, crass. We don't want to say crass because that implies really negative aspects. But it's not going to be refined. It's unrefined. The truth, the plain dealer, the truth, the blunt. We say, right. There's an element of bluntness towards it. Therefore, that would be irksome, right? And because of that, this truthful person will incline to be less than truthful. Okay, that's what he says at the end of that paragraph, right? So therefore, at one level, right, they will appear more refined in their character, for they seem not to speak for the sake of gain, but as people who avoid bombast. So therefore, the opposite of the bombast, right? They don't want to appear. They don't want to appear to be a boaster. So therefore, that they don't want to, and they especially deny having qualities held in high repute, right? As for instance, Socrates, Socrates, again, wisdom. In other words, I know I'm not wise. No, I don't know. I know that I don't know. Right? That's the Socratic ignorance. Right? That is a claim. That is an ironic claim because there is a knowledge in that statement. I know. I know that I don't know. That is the claim of Socratic ignorance. Right? I'm not. I do not know. I'm not wise. I like to know. I seek wisdom, but I know I'm not wise. No, I'm not wise. And people who claim wisdom, he's going to check. He's going to challenge them whether they are truly wise or not. Right. So this is the quality of Socrates, that they deny having qualities are held in high repute, being wisdom, wise. Right. Those who deny. Okay. Now the problem is those who deny small and manifest things are said to be humbugs. In other words, if you deny small and manifest things, clearly things that are small, macro, micro, small, and manifest. Oh, we almost had my wife almost came in here and we had a surprise thing. So if you deny the manifest things, small things, and clearly manifest means obvious to everyone. This is a humbug. This is like, oh my God. And are contemptible. And sometimes such denials appears as boasting in that sense. As in the dress of the Spartans, for example. This is an example. The Spartan adopted the ostentatious, simply mode of dress that masked differences of wealth. This is Thucydides book one and chapter 6.4, right? So therefore, there's this this way of this. This is a This is a kind of boasting. You're pretending you're not. The Spartan would dress less. But this is a kind of but in doing this, this kind of thing is actually kind of a boasting. Okay, so therefore, when you do such a thing, this is actually a boasting. It's that deny small and manifest things. They're humbugs and contemptible, and sometimes such denials appear as boasting. And therefore I'm boasting in it. In fact, that's the problem with Socrates. Even the Socratic position, what Socrates would claim I didn't know, seems like a boasting in that sense. All right, that was the problem of Socrates. Some of the critics of Socrates would say, "Well, no, like Callicles and the Gorgias and Thrasymachus, there's a boasting in Socrates here." Okay, this is the big speaking that Xenophon calls the big speaking of Socrates. In fact, that's the condemned. This is what probably is the way of speaking. This big speaking is probably what got him killed at the trial. Right, this boast. There was a kind of appearance of his boasting. His ironism comes across as a boasting. For both excess and extreme deficiencies, are boastful. Excess and extreme deficiencies are boastful. But those who use irony in a measured way and concerning things that are not extremely obvious, so therefore it's in a measured way and concerning things that are not extremely obvious, come to cite as refined in their irony. So this is those who use, in other words, the irony who does the ironic when it comes to the small and the obvious manifest things. This is a contemptible because it's kind of like you're doing that and it's boasting. But if you're doing it in a measured way, use irony in a measured way concerning things that are not obvious, this kind of looks refined, cultured. The boaster appears to lie opposite the truth teller, since he is worse. The boaster is worse than the ironists. So the opposite than truth teller is the opposite, and the ironist is worse than the ironist. So the boaster appears to lie opposite the truth teller, since he is worse than the ironist. So the boaster is worse than the ironist because he lies opposite of the truth teller. Whereas the truth teller depends whether you're doing it the obvious or not. One is refined, one is ridiculous. One is actually kind of a boasting. Okay, so therefore the kind that over these small things, right? These are boastful. Both the excess and extreme deficiencies, these are boastful. You're doing it beyond what is necessary. An extreme deficiency. In other words, the irony is not, it's not measured. It's excessive and extreme. This is boasting. Whereas the humbug, the humbug is this. It's obvious in small things, and this thing. Come on, really? What? Come on, this is ridiculous. You're just contemptible. This is contemptible. Also, the boaster. This is the irony that's extreme and excessive. This comes across. This is a kind of boasting, and boasting is the opposite of truth telling, and thus this is why the boaster is worse than the ironist. So ironist is really literally this specific type of ironist who the ironist who only does so in a measure. In other words, they use irony in a measured way, concern things that are not obvious. That's the only way that ironists are. That is the true ironist. The other forms of ironists are either a humbugger, someone who's just humbug and contemptible, right? And then the other one is a exaggerator and a boaster in a way, okay? And it refers to boasting. So therefore, that's how we end this. Now, if you have any comments or questions, please put them below, and I will respond to them when I see them. I will give you a thing like I'll answer them and respond to them when I notice them. If you like the video, hit the like button, please. Hit the like and share. Share on social media. Share with your friends. If you've not subscribed, please subscribe. It helps the channel. Encourage others who are interested in these things, and bring it to the attention. Encourage them to come watch and see not only these videos on Aristotle's ethics, but the other videos that we've covered on so far in this channel. Um, that helps. Now, if you didn't like what I did, or you think I did something wrong here, you just disagree with me, well, yeah, you can always hit the dislike button, but say why in the comments so that people can learn from what you explain why you don't like it, and therefore maybe people can, learn from this, okay, benefit from this. If you want to follow me on social media, the social media links are below. If you want to know more about me as a scholar, as a researcher, and things like that, to follow my scholarship and things, you can look at the academic social media links below there. And if you want to help what I do, because this prices and things are kind, and you can buy new books and things. You can do so. There's, like I said, I joked about this. You could always buy me an Amazon gift card or a Google card through different means, and you can access my academic social media. You can find my email. Spam, lots of spam. Oh God, who knows? But no, that's one way you can help. Another way you can help is through links of Subscribe Star and Patreon. It will be useful. Those of you who can do so. It's not going to be big money, but it's something small, and then every little bit helps. I am not big enough a channel that I have a tip jar. I wish my channel was big enough that I would get a tip jar so people can say, "Oh, gift, here's a book, I work for money. I should have I'm a philosopher who goes out there with the street corner with the bill. But I philosophize for change. I wish that was possible, but um, um, that's not possible yet. I have to grow much bigger. And people come and say, give me some money, give me $200, $300 to help you get your monetized. I don't, Bangladesh or, people from Bangladesh, these guys from Bangladesh keep on, and LinkedIn keep on harassing me, saying, "Oh, why don't you give me some money? I can help you get your." I don't trust that. That's just So that bunch of people get me a whole bunch of bots. That's not going to help anything. I want to authentically grow. My wife says I should do better marketing, and she's right. But maybe I should pay some advertising. Do some advertising. Hey, look up my channel. Whatever. But that's that. So another way you can help me do what I do is help me want to do something is buy one of my books. You can do so through your local bookstore. The books are listed below. My 3 books are listed below that are published books. You could buy your local bookstore through an online bookstore like Amazon or Barnes & Noble or any other distributor. Now, if you really want to help me directly, if you're studying the politics, and you read the Lulu book, the Lulu notebook on Aristotle's politics, because if you buy it through Lulu, I will get the money bookstores get. So that's why you can help. If you know someone who's studying the politics, or a student studying the politics, or you yourself studying the politics, and you really would like to do this. Okay, I understand we're not doing the politics this time. We're doing the ethics, but and why don't you have a book on the ethics? Because you can only spend so much time doing I'm still doing my Aristotle's regime book, so that's going to be that. So therefore, that's it. That's it for today. Next time we'll do chapter 8, and we'll finish up book 4. It's next 2 chapters. We're next 2 more chapters in book 4, and book 4, and then we turn to book 5, which has justice. We'll turn to justice in book 5. Well, take care and have a good